Hey, it's Ed. Welcome to another edition of Ed Talks. And I have my friend Ajay with me. Ajay, welcome to Ed Talks.
Thanks, Ed.
So you're like one of those most interesting people in the world. So I just wanted to have you on the program. So we've known each other for quite some time, but I don't know that everyone in my audience would know all about the depth of your background. So tell us a little bit about yourself and all the places that you've served.
Well, I was born and raised in Montreal and started off my career in the Canadian Armed Forces. Oh, gosh, I was 16 when I signed up and 17 when I joined, and ended up going to the Canadian equivalent of West Point, which is the Royal Military College. And I went to the French version. And the reason I joined the military was because I wanted to fly jets, which I got to do early in my career, but later on, I got glasses and had to change from the pilot career to being an engineer, and ended up going to school and doing a couple of master's degrees. And it was kind of fortuitous because one of the results of my master's, which was sponsored by Army Intelligence out of all things, is I did my first startup. In my first startup, I developed software for astronomical imaging. And I had a couple of very famous customers who at the time I didn't know they were very famous. And one of those was Paul Allen, and one of those was Nathan Myhrvold. So when my career started to wind down in the military, I had 17 years in, they were offering early retirement at 20-year pension at 17 years. I decided to take it because I had this job offer from Microsoft, which was orchestrated by Paul and Nathan. I joined Microsoft in 1996, moved to the United States, and have been in the Seattle area ever since. And I started off my career there as a lead software engineer for Microsoft imaging products. And eventually, the whole team that was working on those imaging products went off and wanted to do something completely different with the technology we had driven. And we ended up founding this small company that you might have heard of called Expedia.
Yeah.
And so Expedia was founded within Microsoft, and it was incubated within Microsoft. And about a year later, Bill comes to us and says, you're a $100 million business within Microsoft, but you're not my core business. We're going to spin you off in an IPO. And he thought this was some fantastic thing. We were all horrified.
Yeah, sure.
Because, this is before the dot-com boom. And I don't think most of us realized what an opportunity it was to IPO. We just knew that we would no longer be working at Microsoft, which was the most amazing place to be at that time. Microsoft was under 10,000 people. It was like working on a university campus. It was so much fun. Well, I wrote Expedia for almost 15 years through multiple IPOs and to be taken private by Barry Diller. And it was an adventure. And I retired in 2012. I really thought I was retiring. That lasted about 3 months, and my wife kicked me out of the house and said, go find a job. And I did a couple of things. I became an EMT, firefighter EMT, did that a little bit before I left Expedia. And I started to do CTO and CIO roles in various small companies. I learned a lot about technology. I learned about venture capital and private equity, how they affect business. It got more oriented towards the business part of technology. I retired again after we sold 50% of Eagleview for a large sum of money from one private equity firm to another. And I had an opportunity to really go with what my passion is, and that is medicine and healthcare. And I'd been an EMT for 15 years. I'm still with a fire department as a volunteer. But joining Mayo Clinic was an opportunity to join a mission, a really, really honorable mission in healthcare. And it was an adventure of setting the foundation for Mayo Clinic to really accelerate its AI development by having its data layer in place. And we did that. We de-siloed a lot of the data. We created a longitudinal patient record in GCP and in Google BigQuery, and started building AI applications within Mayo Clinic that were both internal facing and will eventually become external facing to the patient. I retired again from Mayo Clinic in November of 2020. Actually retired and took my pension, but I'm very quickly learning that retirement's not for me.
Yeah.
And when the opportunity came to join IKS, another golden opportunity to really materially change the face of healthcare in the United States. And to do this by taking the waste out of the system and making the entire process, which is really not very efficient, making it much more efficient and doing value-based care for patients where you use AI and computer technology within a platform environment to really accelerate healthcare affordability. And this is particularly needed today. When the government is going to start taking money out of the healthcare system, it's going to push hospitals over the edge. And unless they can get more efficient, they're not going to survive. And that's going to be bad for everybody. So that's where I am today. And I'm having a great time.
No, it's awesome. What I appreciate is the fact that you have all of this varied experience in multiple industries, and then bringing it to bear in healthcare is amazing. And then also on the provider side with your tenure at Mayo, and then bringing it to the partner side, you get kind of that view of both sides, and you have a greater understanding as opposed to someone who's just been, on the partner side for their entire career. So that's super. I'm really excited about you being partnered with IKS Health and helping them. Speaking to peers, like our peers, like when I was at Cleveland Clinic and you're at Mayo Clinic, speaking to our peers about AI. So, you're a chief AI officer type. What is one or two things you might recommend that everyone sort of think about or focus on as, the buzz continues, and not just the buzz, but the real world application? What are one or two things that you might suggest?
Well, uh, probably the most important thing to understand about AI is that it is just yet another tool in the toolbox. It is a very, very powerful tool, but it's another tool in the toolbox that has to be applied judiciously. For instance, if you don't have your data house in order, if you don't have data constructs super well defined and easily accessible with the full context, AI is going to do the wrong thing. AI needs that data in order to make decisions, and that data has to be at every step in the workflow. So step one to making effective use of AI is get the data right. If you can get the data right, AI is a massively powerful tool that can help uh, optimize almost anything, especially if you have a set of rules and you have the data available and you want to have an outcome. I'll give you a great example. Last Friday, for fun, I decided to build an autonomous coding application for coding medical notes. So input is a medical record from a recent visit for a patient, and the output is the appropriate coding for billing and payment. It literally took me 2 hours to build an accurate, fully functional application from scratch. That is the power of AI. But it counted on having all of the data readily available in place. And if I didn't have that, I wouldn't have been able to do it. It would have taken me months to actually scrape all the data together.
Yeah. Ajay, the other cool thing about you is that you didn't let this dream of flying stop when you weren't able to pursue that via the military. So you're an avid pilot today. So what's your favorite thing to do? I mean, I can't imagine. So it's like you pick a plane and you're like, hey, I'm just gonna go on like some people go on a Sunday drive into the mountains. You just do kind of like a Sunday flight in the in
Quite
the
quite often. Probably my most favorite thing to do is I have one of my planes is a small bush plane that can be a home built plane, but mine actually wasn't. It was built by the factory. It's called a Kit Fox. And it's this tail dragger with large bush wheels that you can land almost anywhere. And I have a good friend who's been my friend for 30 years from my Microsoft days. His name is Jonathan Fay, and he's built his own plane. And the two of us will go in the backwoods of Washington State and land on sandbars and just go exploring the mountains. It's like a dirt bike, right? It's like having a dirt, except it's a plane. And that's so much fun. Or circling the crater of Mount St. Helens at very low altitude and just seeing things that other people just don't get to see, and flying and the freedom that comes with it. It's amazing.
Yeah, I'm coming to visit you and try to talk you into take me up on a flight.
I would be
Ajay,
happy to.
yeah, that'd be so much fun. I really enjoy you, and I could talk with you forever. Thank you so much for being a guest on Ed Talks. You have a fabulous background. I'm so glad that you're giving all your talents and energy to healthcare. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ed.